Kelafo Collie is a businessman and a family general medical practitioner. He is a former teacher at Jordan Prince William's High School in Nassau, Bahamas, and senior house officer in the psychiatry department in the public health sector. Additionally, Dr. Collie serves as an advisor and life coach to medical, business, and governmental organizations. He is married to Kelafo Collie, who holds MBA in Leadership and Innovation. They are both authors of international books, entrepreneurs in the health and business arena, and are proud parents of a son. Dr. Collie is a true teacher and inspiration for wholesome living and leadership. He has traveled throughout the Bahamas, United States, the Caribbean, Asia, and Africa, doing the same. Dr. Collie desires to conduct life-changing missions here in the Bahamas, as well as to continue traveling to nations conducting life-changing and medical missions. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Collie to the podium.
Pleasant good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon.
And truly, it is an honor to be here. See so many familiar faces, and it's a joy. The laughter was amazing, and if y'all keep this up, I mean, I could send some people here for therapy next week. All right, save them some money and time. But of course, laughter is good medicine. That's why I said that, and this was truly very rewarding and enlightening. Also, I reinforce and reiterate what you have said. The word on the street and what we've seen and experienced is that Rotary is taking a tremendous lead. And the president and I were sharing before we started, what you started out with, a few hurricanes in the past, which was just with the water, but then now you've branched out into full-out humanitarian effort. So give yourself a round of applause. This is amazing, very amazing, and you should be very proud of yourselves and what you're doing. I thank the president and all the officers, the leaders, the past presidents, and Mr. Lancy, who saw it fit to have me here today. So thank you again. Now, when we look at her topic that she asked me to share on, it had to do with coping with the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. I don't think any of us expected this level of, what can we call it, crisis, devastation, terror, what else? Horror. This is fun. Mayhem. Give me some other terms. Fun? Lost, yes. What else? Any other terms? Nightmare. And there are so many terms that we can continue to add to this. I want to talk about dealing with crisis and then the recovery from crisis. And let's divide the crisis into the pre, during, and after. And then when we deal with rebuilding, let's look at the individual. So I want to take a holistic approach. So we're going to deal with the whole human, the health, the mental health, the soulish health, or health. Then look at family, community, and national rebuilding. We'll see how much we can cover, because you see that's how much and how many levels, this type of crisis requires. Then we can talk a little bit about some of the psychological and psychiatric conditions that develop that we've been exposed to and that will come in times like these. So the pre in the crisis. So I'm sure many of you were preparing before the storm, right? What are some of the things you did in preparation? Anybody? Batten up. Bought food and water. Gas of the car. Most people were really prepared, right? And so that is the preparation before a crisis. Now, this crisis is different because, other crises, like an accident or sudden death, is different. But this, you had you know it was coming, right? You know it was coming, you saw it. Most people prepared adequately for that event. And so most people were pretty prepared, weren't you? Okay. The only thing, best as you can. Some of the things that happen, a lot of people still get anxious during the storm, especially those who've experienced Matthew and Francis and Jane. Before that storm, some people still, Cassia, get that anxiety and that fear because the unknown is upon us. And many who've experienced loss or destruction or despair from those previous storms is still very real. Okay? And then the waiting time for that crisis to come. So you have a crisis, you're preparing and waiting for it. Hurricanes are quite different because you're waiting for that event to come, not knowing. And then there was the crisis. The actual event happened, the winds were raging, the water started to rise, or it rose during that time. And so people are bunkered down, just trying to stay close with family members, loved ones, wherever they are, trying to be secure. Is that right? Yes. Some of you were just home. Some of you, depending on your area of profession, might have been actually at a call-it center, or if you're police, or you're in the armed forces, or with NEMA, you were actually there, away from your family and loved ones. That creates some coping issue as well, doesn't it? Yes. And I've shared with a number of people who actually were away from their loved ones during the crisis. So you can imagine the thought of knowing, and some of them in fact got calls. I hate to rehash all this, but we have to face it, eh? This is how we're going to heal together, right? Yeah. And so some had to actually leave their work or their place of helping others to go and rescue a loved one. So this is the crisis that's happening, the winds, the waters, and everything that happened, trying to escape, trying to survive during that storm. Then you have the post-crisis, when finally after 30 plus hours of the wind and the water and the text messages and listening to the radio and hearing of all of the horror, things settled and the all clear was made. And now you're going to look at, many of you here, I'm sure, or your loved ones, going to your businesses, going to your homes, trying to search for your relatives. The aftermath of the crisis. Now what was different about this crisis is that this storm, of course, as you know, affected almost every sector of the community. It wasn't just wind damage, it was the massive flooding that who would have expected? And who would have expected it to come this far? Did any of you? No. You know it was going to be a little water and flooding, you know, there were some areas, but to come this far inland, almost 5 miles inland, affected businesses. Every sector, the banking, the armed services, the educational sector, private enterprises, financial, legal, healthcare, everything. And so now we're in that phase now of after the storm and rebuilding. So let's look at that. The first thing, let's talk about some mental health issues. And as I've been sharing with many persons, I've asked them, and I want to throw this out here before we look at some of the mental things. And I want you to be open if you can, because some of you were in these situations where you had to be rescued. I don't want to highlight any of you, or had to rescue a loved one, or had to go through an experience during this storm, or might have lost a loved one during the storm. And if you're open and you want to talk about that, we'd be more than happy to discuss it briefly. But I've encouraged a lot of people, please do not forget the children. So let's start with the children. You know, they've experienced this and they need support, they need care. What I've been advising is to sit down as a family with the children, no matter the age. I've had stories of and information firsthand of mothers whose children are only 2, 3 and still are startled by the experience. Anytime it begins to rain, anytime there's a storm, they're shaken, they couldn't sleep, and still having challenges with sleep. So after a crisis like this, one of the major things, of course, you understand some of these symptoms and what happens. The first thing you think about is acute stress reaction. If you haven't heard of it, I'll talk a little bit about that. It is the stage right before post-traumatic stress disorder. How many of you heard about PTSD? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Like the name says, post-traumatic stress disorder is a condition that develops, not all the time, because everyone has different coping methods. Some of you came through this and you could, look at the Sergeant of Arms, just making all of us laugh, full of life. You would never know what he went through, eh? But some of us, you know, are still dealing with it and have some of the symptoms, because our coping methods is different. Everyone copes differently. And that's based on so many factors, our cultural background, you know, our own individual strengths, our own support system. So post-traumatic stress disorder happens after a major tragic event. Somehow the brain just begins to record when a crisis happens. If I ask you what you did 5 months ago, you might remember. But if I ask you what happened during an accident you had 25 years ago, not you in here, some of you much younger than that, right? But for the rest of us, 25 years ago, you would remember to the T, because your brain remembers a car was coming, I turned through midshipman, and all of a sudden a blue van came through, ran the red light. Why? Anytime there's a crisis right before that, the brain records before, during, and after. And somehow, if the treatment is not there, the brain just keeps replaying that. So, acute stress disorder is like post-traumatic stress, but it happens from the time of the event up to 4 weeks. All right? Anything after 4 weeks of having the symptoms, or what are some of the symptoms? We'll talk about that. Anything after 4 weeks is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay? So, what are some of the symptoms? Being startled. So we're on the mental health. So being shaken up. So persons in this city in particular, they drive by East End or going out east, it brings back their memory. Or if you drive downtown where the event took place, in this case, maybe you lost your business when you drive by that area. Or if you're in this area and you got stuck in the water and had to be rescued, or you were in one of the shelter. I have, you know, spoken to persons who, wherever they were, they keep having these flashbacks and memories of these events. Sometimes they have flashbacks in the dream. They're waking up startled because, you know, they're still reliving that in the dream. They have palpitation, they get anxious, they get overwhelmed. Sometimes they get distressed or depressed from the situation. Okay? All of these things are areas we need to look into in helping our people. How do you do this? Acute stress reaction and post-traumatic stress. In children, they reflect differently. Children might just have nightmares. They might just be isolated. They might just go in a corner. You notice they're not playing and involved and as active as they used to. Or when the school starts, their grades, the teacher saying things are not the same. Stop me at any time. Any question? I see Dawn, you're looking intently.
Continue on.
Continue. Okay. Anyone stop me at any time. Adults, we respond differently as well. And this is the time, as we talk about rebuilding, and I'm spending a little time on the mental health, because this is now 2 months, 64 days, you said, Mr. President? So this is the key time now that the reality will kick in. Because right after the crisis, remember, the whole thrust is for survival. People wanted water. People wanted food, Cassietta. People wanted to get items. Thank you to Rotary and Brother Rich, right? Who's been bringing these stuff here, you see? Because the pressure would have been on. That water, in a crisis time, it's amazing. People not trying to get their car or house. They want water. You know, they want ice. I told my family, I don't want ice.
$7.50.
$7, especially if it's $10 a bag of ice. Why? Because I can drink room temperature water. But in a crisis, people just want a little luxury. I don't know what the ice does, but people want ice. They want a little food. Ice is gold in that time. All right? And it's a fight for survival. You see the lines, you see the waiting. I don't want to rehash this because I want to move on, but I want to touch some of these areas so we can understand how to move forward. So, as we deal with the mental health aspect first, understand it is real. So persons who had previous mental illness, this type of crisis can exacerbate it. All right? Persons who didn't have these type of mental illness can develop. And it can go from a very, large spectrum of things. So what do we have? Some people are what? What? Can you tell me some of your family members or loved ones or someone? What symptoms they're having? Anyone? Pardon? Difficulty sleeping. All right. So yes, the difficulty sleeping, loss of sleep for a number of reasons. Because during the storm, waiting. Before the storm, being anxious before it comes. After the storm, not knowing what to do, where to go, where to turn. Especially if the house has been empty, so difficulty sleeping. So you want to address some of these sleeping issues, okay? Eating habits, very good. Of which none of you have in here today.
We don't need a doctor.
Right. Well, let me take that back. Because the reality is, some people who are depressed eat more. Sometimes you eat more. And I've spoken to a number of people who said, man, I put on 10 pounds since Dorian. Because why? It's just the good food that was being provided and you're just eating. Because again, survival. Let me eat all I can. Because if this run out, I don't know when it's going to stop. So let me stock up. The human beings, very interesting. You don't realize that's what's happening, but that's what's going on. You're storing up. Okay? So the sleep, the eating, what else?
Eye contact.
Huh? Eye contact. So persons, tell me about that.
Well, when people are not dealing with their feelings well, they have difficulty engaging with other people.
That's
eye
very
contact is one of the ways that
Very
they
good.
engage.
Eye contact, okay? Very good. And I was in a restaurant and I want us to do this as well. I want us to pay good attention to others around us. And I know you Rotarians are like that. I'm grateful. Because, I'm going into places without even, I don't know what it is. Just looking at people and you could see. Heads are down. And one guy stopped to him a few weeks ago in a fast food restaurant and said, everything all right? No. Big grown man, bigger than the sergeant of arm. No, not exactly. I want to make my brother feel a little bit about the size. Half. That's my boy. That's my boy.
Can't speak of the name.
I know. I'll give $1 to that, all right? Give $1 to that. He was about to break down. He said, I don't know what I can do. I had two in the fast food restaurant. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But what am I saying? You're going to come across that. This is the reality. You're going to, every day the stories. Because if you have 10, 15,000 people affected, that's 10 to 15,000 stories. And there's no way a health facility, and of course there's some great people on the ground doing a lot of things with the mental health. There's no way they alone can deal with the load, just in Grand Bahama, of the many stories that has to be addressed. So we are going to have to be our brother's keepers. We're going to have to continue to do that, provide that support. Depression, of course, is very real. People have lost literally everything. All right? So we could go to Miss Dean for a loan. Well, hopefully you could qualify for it. But, people have lost literally everything and don't have the money to start and don't have the job to start. So we have to be each other's keeper. We have to help people to build small and to grow small. One step at a time. One step at a time. Okay? So there are many other things with the mental health, but I'll leave that. Let's move on to another thing. Unless you have a question concerning that. How do you deal with some of these things? Seek professional help as much as you can for the mental conditions. And don't be afraid and don't be ashamed. It's not a stigma, it's real. Get it for your family, get it for your children, get it for your loved ones. And if you want a quick, easy way, start at home and have your own family session. Bring the kids around. How are you coping? You'll be surprised to hear what they're going to tell you. Ask your spouse. You know, I've had big grown men, they're strong, and but they feel helpless and hopeless in this time. You know what it is to batten up, prepare to have all the food, and waters came in, and you helpless. What could you do? This is one of the only time you feel really helpless. Nothing you could do. So pull those strong men, right, brothers? Right, man?
Yep.
Pull them aside and find out what's going on. Because you know they say we men don't like to talk much. The women have already called their friends and cried and wallowed and released that pain, that hurt, that disappointment. They're talking about it. And they want to go and see the place where it was damaged and all that. Meet her, yeah, toughen it out, you know? Oh, we're going to make it, but everything will be all right. Till one day. Yeah. So, supportive therapy, family therapy, get around with your family, get professional help. Okay, for you and the children, the entire family. Next, I want to talk about moving forward. And of course, there is help here on the island to give you that psychological support and help. Social services, there was a team restoration with Dr. Pamela Mills and a team. They were going around in the community. You can reach them. Whatever assistance we can help in that area, we'd be happy to have you. Physical health. Physical health. Of course, during this time, we have a challenge with food safety, and I'm just going to summarize it quickly. Food safety, what do you eat? So I was going to order today. I know they have wonderful food, but every day I find myself trying to figure out what should I eat. You know, should I eat fish now? Is it safe? I'm sorry, those who are the fish already. Nothing to say about here, I'm just saying. Is it the time now to eat fish? Really, let's think about it. Where did the fish come from? Did it come from the waters around? No. Should I have the count this year? I know, you know. Not saying here, but this is the type of things. Do I get water from here now? No, y'all have provided great water. Rotary has provided great water. I'm talking about buying water from places. You're talking about the bathing water. Should I put my little Dettol in the water still every day? I look clean, right? Have a little bucket. You're going back island style, you know. Or your tub, you put a few drops of Dettol and bleach. You still have to disinfect. This is going to go for a couple months. Now, the water quality, this has nothing to do with the water quality. Okay? It has nothing to do with the water quality that's being produced by the city. But just for safety, yeah? Put your little water, because, you know, people are coming with little skin stuff. They don't know where it's coming from. So put your little water, your little disinfectant in there, sterilize your water, okay? Watch the food. You still sterilize your drinking water, except the Rotary one, you can just drink it. Yeah. Put your head under the fountain and just drink. Okay? And so this is, now as we close up, these are some of the things. I won't have time to do all of it, of course. Then there's the community building, which you are so used to doing. This is going to take a community effort to provide that support for the mental health. Those who had it before, those who are developing, and those who will develop. And the key thing is you have to watch for at least 6 months a year. Right now, you mightn't feel it, but we're still resolving from a crisis. It's not over yet. So keep your eyes open for you and your family and loved ones from depression. If anyone has any suicidal thoughts or anything, get them help. Watch what you eat. Watch what you're doing with your health. In some areas where they might have toxins or pollutions, you want to still sterilize and be careful. Your power and electrical lines. These are the key things, because it's not the storm most of the time that causes the most medical morbidity and mortality. I mean, sicknesses and death. It's the after. No person's cutting trees and cutting down power lines and that. So please use your precaution. Yes?
What do you recommend for the sleeping disorder?
Sleeping disorder?
Exercise.
Very good, very good, very good. All of you. Can any of you tell me some of your tips? Because all of these things work, and then I'll add to that. What you said? You said exercise.
Will help you sleep.
Very good. What
And
else?
help your mental. Volunteering.
Volunteering helps. That's true. Anything else?
Yep.
So, exercise. Very good. Relaxation techniques. Breathing, music, family, volunteering. I found people who have volunteered, you're right, who just feel a release of endorphins as they go out there and give. Even though they have their own problems, going out there gives them such a sense of purpose and a sense of humanitarian effort, a sense of humanness that goes beyond anything. So volunteer. And if it goes beyond that, you need some medication to help assist with that, yeah? But all of them work together. So community now, let's look at community. Of course, we'll have to continue, Heineken, right? That's what helps it. Oh, very good point, very good point. I have 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Okay, that's a very good point he's saying, and I'm happy you brought it up, Billy. He mentioned a certain brand. I ain't gonna say it on here. But the point is, a lot of people will turn to substance abuse. It's so many things to cover. I'm trying to condense it. Some people are going to turn to substance abuse. Not you.
Quench your thirst.
Quench your thirst. I'm not talking about you, but I'm springing on that point that during this time, some people, and if you drive around, you'll see it starting already.
Yes.
It's a reality. We got to look into this. All of these are health factors that you look. Listen here. After this, some people are going to go to some methods to cope. It's not that they're bad people. They have to cope now with providing for family and loved one after major loss. And some of the only things they can do is turn to whatever substance of choice there is or that is available. So as we build. All right, so how do we move forward and build? Well, none of us have all the answers. And so this cooperative way of healing together, this is going to take a community effort. It's going to require us being our brother's keepers. Like you've already been doing. The text, the call, just checking on people. How about that?
Yes.
Can I get everyone just to check on 10 people every week?
Yeah.
I know you're doing it. I know the president was calling the see, you should be happy, Sergeant, that he was calling you 4 times. That's love. I'll give $1 to that. He ain't call your friends? Oh no, Mr. Well, he can change that. He can change that. It is truly going to be, and I came here and who has the answers? This is persons in Nassau and Cat Island can give you all of the reach, but we here on the ground, that's what bothers. I know that bothers some of you too. It's bothering me. Y'all want to tell us what do we hear? We still going through what you talking about. Oh, you ain't eat this. Grand Bahamas good, really?
Yeah.
Where? When I'm driving around, I don't see. Huh?
From a plane.
From a plane.
sorry.
You see.
I'm
You came on a boat or plane. You came on a boat or
I was
plane.
talking about politics. I should.
I know. No, it's real because
No.
the reality is there's no clear answer. But we have the strength. What is the good thing about rebuilding is the strength that has been exhibited has been unprecedented. Eh?
Yeah.
The humanitarian effort, the gifts. What I would like to see, though, is a vigil. And I hope that is done soon because individuals have breathed, but I don't think we've breathed as a community yet. Help me, somebody. Huh? Come. In December? Man, not too long, man. You know, imagine now. But it's just good. I honor. But Rotary's doing it in December?
No, I don't think it's
Another group.
Yeah.
We need something now. Because, see, people need to get closure.
Yeah.
And these vigils, it brings the community together. And it says we are coming together to bring closure. Closure to those who died during the storm. Closure for those who still missing and you want to honor them. It brings healing and closure to the community. I don't think we've had am I wrong? Help me. Do you feel like we've healed as a community yet?
We're still coping.
Huh?
We're still coping.
We're still
recovering.
We're still in recovery. So yes. So we're still in recovery, but we need some, thank you. community effort to start the process while we're recovering. The food, the water, the clothes, all the wonderful stuff is good. It helps to deal with the immediate need. But the deep healing as a community, somehow we need to have that. And I know many groups around, religious and social civic, have been doing things, but there needs to be some closure. And I'm just throwing these items out there. And I believe once we do that, there's going to be a healing that flows to everyone. Because people need an outlet to express what they've gone through, closing them. So we work together. We don't have the answers, but we have the human strength. The mere fact that you and I are here means we've survived. And the world is watching and they're amazed at, if this had happened to, you're talking about the largest storm in the Western Hemisphere, or the second in the world, the largest in this Western Hemisphere recorded in history. A small island nation. But yet we have recovered to this point, still recovering. So we have the human strength, we have the fortitude, we have the faith to go forward. But the only thing I can leave is that we need to be each other's helper. If people need medical help, take them for it. If they need supportive care, take them. If they need psychological, take them. You have provided the water, the food, and supplies. That is a part of it. We need a community initiative of healing and letting people express that hurt. And then, of course, the next level is nationally, which is beyond us at this time. Thank you so much for having me at this time. I think as Lance said, it will be a short segment for any questions, and then I'll take my seat. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and hope I can be of support to you. Yeah. Any questions, concerns? Question? Yes.
Dr. Collie,
Yes.
I think it was very good, interesting the way you had it without the card. But I just want to say, I spent the first 2 days in a single dwelling. Though nothing happened to where I live, thank God. But I spent time with my daughter, who has a single dwelling. We actually went to a friend of hers house.
Yes.
So my take on the hurricane was the sound on the roof. I remember I lived in a 12-story building.
Yes,
In the
yes.
middle. I never hear what's going on up there. But that is what got me. The sounds Dorian made.
Wow.
Dorian, you could tell like when Dorian coming from a direction, you could she mounting a heat. Mounting. And when she arrived, she I keep saying she didn't stop.
Yeah.
And there's like a second load.
Yeah.
And then they took off somewhere else. And I sat for hours. Hours. Listening to the different sounds. And so it was only after the hurricane I said to a friend that if I had the sense at that time, I would record Dorian's sounds.
Wow.
Because they were terrifying.
Yes.
They were like you watching a movie by Brian De Palma, he's a sound fella.
Yes.
So it was like I was watching some kind of a movie, some scary movie.
Yes.
And you're sitting on pins and needles like this, waiting for the next impact. And that is what from time to time, that stays.
You're still
with me.
hearing that. Yes.
Stays with me.
Yes.
Sounds.
That's a part of it. Everything in crisis, the sound, the smell. Some people still remember the smell, what they ate, what was happening around. Your brain just records from all the senses, every experience. And so I want to let you know, and you with many others who are doing that, it's a process. But if it becomes unbearable, then you know where to go. You know how to get the help you need. I'm happy you expressed that. And the more you express these feelings, the better, you know. That's what we do in a therapy session. The more you express, the more you heal. You might realize it. Yes. Yes, sir.
After Francis and Jean,
Yes, sir.
I learned a lesson with that. And since then, I've stopped taking vacations. When I see a hurricane approaching, I take hurrications, and I seek professional help with American Airlines and Bahamas Air.
You just leave, evacuate.
Just get out.
That's really good. No, that's a great suggestion too. I've spoken to some people who said just this. Next storm, they're gonna flee. Now, fleeing also a very good point. A very good point. Where do you go? Because if you go to Florida and it comes there, this Dorian was amazing. It went Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, up the East Coast. You know, it ended up in the UK. So even Canada. So this one, where could you go? But that's just what I think. But you leave. That's
I
the way
go
you
to the
leave.
mountains of Maine.
Oh yeah. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. Just to throw this out, some people even considering now moving forward life vests.
Yeah.
I think that's a good investment if you're living. And I mean, I'm serious. Life
You
vests.
never know now.
Some of the other things I started looking into is, satellite phones, satellite connectivity. I mean, because, in the future, especially in the medical and the NEMA, we need that type of technology.
Yeah, we do.
We can't be waiting on, anyway. The signal was good for some of the persons, but amen, that saved a lot of lives. It's those things that drop a lot of people up. So anyway, leave that there. So maybe that's the technology. Any more questions before I close? Please, questions, comments? Anything that's pressing? Okay. Thank you so much again for your time and your patience. Oh, one other point, yeah.
I'd like to say that, there's a